Some stories are born in peace. Mine was born inside fear, fire, and chains. I did not plan to become a hunted soul, but one night changed my blood, my name, and my future forever. What I am about to tell is not easy to hear, but it is real to my heart. It is the path that led me from a palace to a prison, from pride to brokenness, and from death waiting at my door to hope I never knew could exist. Before you continue, please comment where you are watching or reading from. Let us know your country or city so we can connect as one family and continue to pray for each other across the world. My name is Amir Khalid Al-Rashid. I was 19 years old in the year 2014. I was born into wealth, guards, and silent fear. My father was a powerful prince in Saudi Arabia. Our house was not just a home, it was a moving fortress with high walls, cameras, soldiers, and rules that followed me like shadows.
People believed I had everything: gold watches, clean white clothes, fast cars, servants who bowed their heads. But inside me lived a lonely child who never felt safe to speak. From the age of 7, I learned how to walk carefully, talk carefully, and even breathe carefully. Every step in the palace had eyes, every word had weight. Mistakes were not corrected with kindness, they were punished with pain. I saw servants beaten for spilling tea. I saw drivers disappear after accidents. I saw my own cousin locked away after questioning our religion. Nobody explained where he went. His room became empty. His name became forbidden. Fear was our daily food. As I grew older, questions grew inside me like hidden fire. Why was God only known through anger? Why was mercy spoken but never shown? Why did obedience matter more than love? I was not allowed to ask these questions. In my world, questions were crimes. At 18, my father sent me to study in another city, still inside the country, but far from the palace. There, I met workers from other nations, quiet men who cleaned floors and carried boxes. Some were Christians. They never preached loudly, they never argued, but their lives were gentle. They shared food, they helped sick people, they forgave insults. One of them, a man from Africa, showed me kindness after I dropped my books. He helped me stand. He cleaned the dust from my clothes. He smiled without fear. Later, guards beat him for speaking to me. That night, something broke inside my chest. I began to secretly read about Christianity using a hidden phone. I learned about Jesus as someone who healed, forgave, and accepted the rejected. Not a man of violence, but of sacrifice. Each word felt like water on a burning heart. But discovery meant death. In Saudi Arabia, leaving Islam is not only shameful, it is a crime punished by prison or execution. And I was not just any person. I was the son of a prince. My fall would be public. My punishment would be heavy. Fear followed me everywhere. Still, the hunger inside me grew stronger than fear. On March 18, 2014, the day everything collapsed, I was alone in a small guest house owned by our family. Guards waited outside, cameras watched the doors, but inside the bathroom there were no eyes. In my shaking hands was a copy of the Quran that had been placed in my bag for travel prayers. My heart beat like a drum of war. I did not hate the book, but in my mind, burning it meant cutting the chain that tied my soul to fear. It meant choosing my own belief, even if it cost my life. My hands trembled so badly that I almost dropped the lighter. I thought of the servants who vanished. I thought of my cousin who disappeared. I thought of the worker who was beaten for helping me. Tears filled my eyes. Then I lit the fire. The pages curled like dry leaves. Smoke filled the small room. My chest tightened. My ears rang. I felt both free and already dead. I washed the ashes down the sink with shaking fingers.
I scrubbed my hands until my skin turned red. I believed I had hidden it. I was wrong. Cameras had seen smoke. Guards smelled burning paper. The bathroom was searched. Ash was found inside the pipe. Within 1 hour, soldiers stormed the house. They dragged me by my clothes. My head hit the floor. My phone fell from my pocket. They searched it. They found everything. My readings, my questions, my secret searches about Jesus. They did not speak kindly. They tied my hands behind my back with hard plastic that cut my skin. They pushed a black hood over my face. I could not see light again. I was no longer a prince. I was now a criminal. They drove me for hours. I could hear other prisoners crying in nearby trucks. Some begged, some prayed, some screamed. When the hood was removed, I stood inside a dark prison yard. High walls, guns pointed at my chest, dogs barking, guards shouting. They shaved my hair. They changed my clothes to dirty prison fabric. They called me traitor. They called me cursed. They said my father had approved my arrest. That night, I slept on cold cement with rats moving near my feet. I hugged my knees like a small child. I knew what came next. Trial, public shame, execution. And nobody would save me. Not my family, not my country, not my name. Only death waited. And in that darkness, I began to wonder if the Jesus I had read about could even see someone like me.
Death does not always come with a knife or a gun. Sometimes it comes slowly, wearing boots, carrying papers, and calling your name in a cold place where hope is not allowed to breathe. I thought the fire I started had burned only paper. I did not know it had already burned my future, my family name, and my right to live. They moved me from the yard into a small underground cell. The room smelled of rust, sweat, and old tears. The walls were wet. The floor was cold like stone taken from a grave. A weak yellow bulb hung above my head like a tired eye that never slept. Chains were locked around my ankles. My hands were tied behind me. Blood from the plastic rope had dried on my wrists. I sat there for hours, or maybe days. Time did not live in that place. Guards came in turns. Some kicked my legs to wake me when I fainted. Some poured dirty water on my face. Some laughed when I cried. They told me my father had signed papers to remove me from the family line. They told me my mother had fainted when she heard. They told me my name was now a curse in the palace. Each word fell on me like a stone. I was taken to another room for questioning. It was bright, too bright. My eyes hurt, my head spun. Men in long uniforms walked around me slowly, like hunters around a trapped animal. One of them held my phone in his hand. Another held printed pages of what I had searched. They showed me pictures of burned paper from the bathroom pipe. They showed me records from the cameras. They showed me my sin, my choice, my crime. They did not beat me at first. They let fear do the work. Then they began. They hit my back with sticks. They slapped my face until my ears rang like broken bells. They pulled my hair and forced my head up so I would not fall. When I fell anyway, they dragged me across the floor like a sack. They said my action had shamed Islam. They said my blood would clean the shame. I begged them to let me see my mother. They answered with silence and more pain. They locked me again in the dark cell. This time, they removed my blanket. Cold nights cut into my bones like knives. Rats ran near my legs. Insects crawled on my skin. My stomach burned with hunger. Sometimes they forgot to bring food. Sometimes they brought bread so hard it cut my mouth. When I became sick, they said sickness was part of justice. Days later, guards took me to court. My legs were weak. I could barely walk. 2 soldiers held my arms like I was already dead. The court was not a place of mercy. It was large, white, and silent. Men in long clothes sat high above me. Their faces were calm, like stone. People filled the room. Some were strangers, some were men who once bowed to my father. Now they looked at me with hate. The charges were read: burning the Quran, leaving Islam, bringing shame to the royal family, threat to public order. I tried to speak. My voice came out small, like a child lost in a storm. Nobody listened. They said the law was clear. They said my life no longer belonged to me. They said the punishment was death, execution, public, soon. The word echoed inside my head again and again. Execution, execution, execution. My knees failed. I fell to the floor. Guards lifted me like broken wood. Outside, the sun was bright, but I could not feel it. They returned me to prison. Now I was not just a prisoner. I was a dead man waiting. Other prisoners were moved away from me. They said my crime was too dangerous. They said my soul was poisoned. They said anyone near me could become like me. I became alone, complete isolation. Silence became my only friend. In the nights, I heard other prisoners scream while being beaten. Sometimes I heard ropes moving. Sometimes I heard prayers stop suddenly. I knew what those sounds meant. I touched my neck many times, feeling the place where the blade would fall. I imagined my blood on sand. I imagined my mother hearing the news. I imagined my name erased. Fear ate my sleep. Pain ate my strength. Shame ate my heart. I whispered inside myself that I was sorry, sorry to my mother.
Sorry to the servants who were beaten because of me. Sorry to the young boy I once was. I believed God had left me, but in the deepest part of my broken heart, a small thought stayed alive. The Jesus I read about loved people who were rejected. The Jesus I read about touched the sick. The Jesus I read about forgave even killers. I did not know how to pray to him. I did not know the right words. I only knew how to cry. And in that dark cell, with chains on my feet and death written on my name, I waited for the end, or for something greater than death to find me. I thought death would reach me before morning, but something else reached me first. I believed the prison was the last place where light could live. I was wrong. The night before my execution was heavy. The air in my cell felt thick, like it was made of dust and sorrow. My body was weak. My back was swollen from beatings. My lips were cracked. My stomach felt like an empty hole that burned. Chains were still on my feet. I lay on the cold floor, staring at the dark ceiling, counting my breaths because sleep would not come. Every small sound made my heart jump. Footsteps meant torture. Keys meant pain. Silence meant waiting. I pressed my face to the ground, trying to hide my tears from guards who could not see me anyway. Inside my mind, pictures came again and again. My mother walking slowly in the palace garden. My childhood room with its clean white walls. The servant who once gave me bread when I was hungry, as a boy. I believed I would never see these things again. My chest hurt as if a heavy stone was sitting on it. I whispered in my heart that if Jesus was real, he should remember me, not rescue me, not change my sentence, only remember me. The darkness in the cell began to feel different. It was still dark, but it was calm. The air no longer felt heavy. My shaking slowed. Then something happened that I cannot explain with prison rules or human thinking. I did not see fire. I did not see lightning. But I felt a presence, gentle and strong at the same time, like warm hands placed on a broken heart. My fear did not shout anymore. My pain did not control me. It felt like someone had entered the room without opening the door. I did not hear footsteps. I did not hear chains move, but I knew I was not alone. In my heart, understanding came without words. I knew this presence was Jesus. Not the angry picture I had been taught to fear, but the one I had read about quietly on my phone. The one who cared for unwanted people. The one who walked with the rejected. I did not see his face with my eyes, but I felt his kindness, like soft light touching deep wounds. Inside my thoughts, I received comfort. It was not spoken in sound. It was planted in my heart like peace. I understood that my life was not finished. I understood that my suffering was seen. I understood that I was not dirty to him. I began to cry, not in fear, but in release. My shoulders shook. Tears fell into the dust. I felt clean inside, even though my body was dirty. I told him in my heart that I was tired of fear. I told him I was sorry for my pride. I told him I wanted truth, even if the world hated me for it. The peace grew stronger. It covered the cell. It covered my pain. It covered my coming death. For the first time since my arrest, I slept. Not long, but deep. When I opened my eyes, the cell was still dark. The chains were still on my feet. The walls were still cold. But I was not the same. Something strong stood inside me now. Not pride, not anger. Hope. I did not know what would happen in the morning. I did not know if I would live or die. But I knew one thing clearly. Even if they killed my body, they could not touch what had been healed inside me. And for the first time, death did not look like a monster. It looked small. It looked weak. It looked temporary. I closed my eyes again and waited for sunrise. Not as a prince, not as a criminal, but as a soul that had been seen. They sharpened the blade while I was still breathing. That is how close my story came to ending. If you are reading this now, it means death opened its mouth for me and then closed it again. Morning came without kindness. Heavy boots woke me. Chains were pulled tighter around my ankles. My hands were tied so hard that my fingers turned blue. Guards lifted me from the floor. My legs shook like weak sticks. I could not stand well, so they dragged me across the cold ground. The prison yard was full of noise. Dogs barked. Men shouted orders. Metal gates screamed as they opened. I smelled dust, sweat, and fear. Other prisoners were forced to kneel along the walls. Some had faces swollen from beatings. Some were bleeding. Some were crying without sound. I was placed on my knees in the middle. My head was pushed down. I saw my shadow on the sand. I knew what position this was. Execution position. My heart beat slowly now. Not fast, not wild. Calm. The peace from the night before was still inside me, like a quiet river. An officer walked around me. I could not see his face clearly, only his boots stopping in front of me. I expected pain. I expected darkness. Instead, shouting began near the gate. Cars arrived. Important people entered. The guards became nervous. They stood straight like wooden sticks. Someone high in power had come. Later, I was told what happened. My father had received strange news during the night. He had dreamed the same dream again and again. In the dream, he saw me standing in darkness while strong light covered me. He saw blood on the ground, but not on my body. He saw himself trying to stop something, but failing. Fear entered his heart. He sent men to the prison before sunrise. He ordered them to delay everything. When they reached the yard, the blade was already prepared. My life was seconds from ending. The order came. The execution stopped. Chains were removed from my legs. I fainted. When I woke up, I was in a small hospital room inside the prison. My hands were still tied, but gently. Water was given to me. Food was placed near me. A doctor cleaned my wounds. Later that day, officers came. They told me my sentence was changed. Not freedom, but exile. My royal name was removed, my inheritance taken, my family line cut. I would be sent away from the country, never to return, never to speak my family name again. To the world, I would be dead. To my mother, I would be a memory. To the palace, I would be a shame erased. I cried, not only from pain, but from loss. I lost my father. I lost my home. I lost my language. I lost my past. But I kept my life. Weeks later, I was moved at night, hidden in trucks, passed between borders like an object, beaten when I asked questions, threatened when I cried. I reached another land weak, thin, and empty. No money, no family, no protection. Only scars. On my back, on my legs, on my heart. Today, I live quietly. I clean floors. I sleep in small rooms. I hide my face. I cannot tell people my real name. Sometimes I wake up shaking, hearing chains in my dreams. Sometimes I smell prison dust, even in clean air. Sometimes I cry, without knowing why. But I am alive, and more than that, I am free inside. The Jesus who met me in the cell did not leave me in exile. He walks with me in lonely streets. He sits with me in small rooms. He strengthens me when fear returns. My body escaped death, but my soul escaped something greater: darkness, hate, eternal fear. If you are reading this, remember people like me still live in prisons. Some are beaten tonight. Some are chained right now. Some are choosing between faith and life. Please pray for them. Pray for secret believers. Pray for prisoners. Pray for families who lost their children to faith. Pray for those who whisper the name of Jesus in dark rooms. And if you are far from God, you can return, even now, even broken, even afraid. You can speak to Him in your heart. Tell Him you are sorry for your sins. Tell Him you believe Jesus died and rose again. Tell Him you want a new life. He will hear. He will forgive. He will begin again with you. If He saved a condemned prisoner like me, He can save anyone, including you.